Long time no see, my old pal. Yoru Kami. In this video, we'll talk about something that rages me up. Today at TGA Expedition 33 swept the show with 9 awards. Got the Best Narrative, Best Art Direction, Best RPG, Best Original Score, Best Performance, Best Game Direction, plus Best Indie Game and Best Indie Game Debut. Did you know? This year. At first I thought it'd be the same old game industry scandals as last year, but once I saw it all, I was furious and laughed. What game industry scandals? This is just a grave for gaming folks. I make indie games and I won't talk about those other awards now, where they fair or not, where they're backroom deals, and just how many... In this video, let's talk about indie games and how they fare. Let's start with a simple question. What is an indie game? You might say it's just a game made by an indie studio. Then, is Kojima considered an indie studio? Hideo Kojima left Konami in 2015 and founded his own studio. No parent company, self-directed, self-funded. By that standard, is Death Stranding 2 an indie game? Well, clearly, TGA didn't count Death Stranding 2. It didn't even get a best indie game nod. And Expedition 33 is developer. Senfox said clearly they're new, just formed a few years back. Core team of 33. First game, how wasn't this an indie game? Then let me ask you this, what sets these two teams apart exactly? Didn't Shimato also leave Konami? Oh, but your Rocket Team folks who left Ubisoft are different. Your indie game, so he must be AAA. Some might say, Night Teacher, you can't put it that way. Hideo Kojima's indie, but didn't Death Stranding get Sony funding back then? This surely cannot be an indie game, right? Makes sense. Games backed by big studios aren't indie games. So who backs Expedition 33? Who stands behind this team? Then, its publisher and investor is Kepler Interactive. This firm was founded in 2021 and raised $120 million in its seed round. Yes, $120 million. OLED the seed round. NetEase with $120 million. CEO was a Tencent exec, plus a host of UVCs. His successful business model involves acquiring indie studios, offering funds, resources, and publishing channels for equity and long-term revenue shares. You could argue it's a startup since it's not public yet, or that it's not a game studio but just a funder of games. But isn't it just like Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard? The only difference is that Kepler is smart. He doesn't pursue 100% ownership, letting these studios retain legal independence. But in reality, it is just part of a capital group. I held back quite a bit, truth be told, I could swear quite a lot. But I hope many more friends can learn what lies behind Expedition 33 and its true nature. On the surface, it's a 33-person team with a game budget under $10 million total. 10 is 70 million RMB. So are you truly an indie game studio or not? You claim your 33-person team is real, but that is all a lie. In fact, you have a 300-plus outsourced team, including your mocap outsourcing, voiceover outsourcing, game art outsourcing, and music outsourcing. Those QA outsourcers are not counted in your official staff numbers. You dear folks, have you traveled France's old zones? No labor law here in China now. Under China's labor law, outsourced staff must not exceed 10% of total staff. Not split your total staff count, can't exceed 10% of outsourced folks. Let me tell you again, those 7 million RMB in development costs. I don't know who started swapping things around. These days, in the game industry, production costs don't factor in distribution fees at all. Those $10 million do not cover Kepler's PR and marketing costs, such as ads, community outreach, and promotional spend. It might not even cover his outsourced production costs. The total investment versus the so-called development costs differ vastly. With The Witcher 3, we knew it had an 81 million USD budget, but later financials showed total spending topped 300 million. The marketing spend alone was more than twice the R&D costs combined. So for the 32nd Expedition's 300-plus team, just how much did we spend in total? And just how much more did Kepler shell out for these honors they now possess? I must say, I don't know. At this point, I think of Baldur's Gate 3 in 2023. That year, Baldur's Gate 3 swept major award shows, winning God yet. It wasn't eligible for Best Indie Game. That year, the Best Indie Game award went to Star of Stars. But Larian Studios, so from start to finish, it's just a 400-employee studio. They founded it themselves, privately held, never bought out. And do you know what is even cooler than that? Larian made its own games and never had a publisher. If you dare call Senfox an indie game team, then what should we call Larian Studios? You'd have to slap a bunch of super prefixes right before the term indie game, right? But TGA says it's too big to count as an indie game. Those others might work for you, but it's indie games still. So what are TGA's hidden rules then? Indie games must be poor, small, and unknown. Is that how I should interpret this? Our studio that stuck to indie roots for 2 full decades, built up its reputation game by game, and finally scored a massive hit, a true blockbuster hit. Then you say, He's too big now, that's not an indie game. On the other hand, a studio that's been around just years started with funding from a top-tier publisher, and its first game had over 300 outsourcing teams. The publisher behind it had a $120 million strategic investment. Is this not a double standard? What's a double standard? You say nothing works. I know that right now some folks on demo will still say things like, oh, why care so much about money, team size, and all that? What are you even doing? Would you corrupt the spirit of independence? You know what? M3. Okay, let's talk about what the spirit of independence means. Undertale, made by Toby Fox game maker, low budget, true pixel art style. Paper Pleases was made by Lucas alone, minimalist gameplay, braid by Jonathan Blow, who mortgaged his entire house and risked everything to create it.
Did these folks have a billion-dollar publisher back them?
Did it have a 300-strong outsourced team or media buzz? His indie game isn't a legal term, but a personal state of being. He stood alone, with no way back, relying solely on his drive. Dawes Expedition 33 faced such a plight. From day one, he was under Kepler's protective umbrella with ample funding, a pro-publishing team, and well-established marketing channels. He was never truly indie, not when they were so. And about the creative angle, turn-based RPG with an action timing system, is that new? Lost Odyssey did that. But I can only think of what the Tales of series did. And if we go back, Super Mario RPG had timing buttons too. If you praise its art style, it blends Francis Bell Polk with surrealist touches. Hasn't BioShock Infinite done this before? Columbia City did the Dishonored series to that. Rather than a new thing, it's just an old one, patched up and stitched together into a massive, slick-looking heavy industry beast. So here's the question, Shin TG, why did you award Best Indie Game to Expedition 33? I think this is because their traditional AAA games are shrinking fast now. Development costs rise, while returns fall sharply. Those big studios have grown more cautious. Rather than create new AAA titles, they stick to sequels and remakes. At this point, a new force emerged. The mid-sized games now dominated the market as the core offering. But capital needs a narrative to wrap around these mid-tier games. Calling them mid-tier games feels clunky. Near AAA sounds awkward. Feels lesser than AAA. So then it turned its gaze once more to indie games. If we call it an indie game, doesn't that instantly become a cultural asset? Indie games stand for creativity, rebellion, and artistic pursuit. Don't they set us apart from annual releases and mass-produced factory-line titles? So, the term indie game is increasingly co-opted by capital and culture, isn't it? It no longer refers to a production method, nor does it mean we are part of garage culture, those small teams of 3 or 4 working in a garage. It has turned into a marketing trope. Oh, we have spirit of independence. So we have access to all sorts of capital, that's fine. Our stuff is just like what you 4 or 5 in a garage made back there, exactly the same. Those later capital shells we wear, usually no one can tell what the true face of such capital might be. TGA, the biggest game awards show, lends its stamp to this misappropriation. Those who make games in garages and in rented rooms right here and there. Those without funding, no outsourcing, no publisher have long been pushed out by this definition. Unless you can earn your own way and rise to Larry's level. By then, though, you wouldn't be called an indie game anymore. So what I mean is, under today's TGA framework, who are the ones still fighting hard? Who could win the Best Game award? Those mid-sized studios rising up but not yet a threat to AAA game studios. Those studios have backing from capital and strong commercial potential, could become next game majors. They are already darlings of big investors, and the game media love to hype them up. Some of the firms they control even have stakes in video platforms, making them a TGA traffic funnel target. He excludes 2 types of people. First, genuine indie game grassroots. Developers, those tiny teams of 1 or 2 with no funding and no publishing deals. These folks never make it onto TGA's radar, no PR funds, no media ties to speak of. The second group are already successful indie studios, like Larian, who proved over 10 to 20 years their indie model works. But success made them graduate instead. I've graduated, I'm no indie game now. That's quite ironic. Those who truly needed the prize got none, while those who squatted took it to fatten up. What is most ironic? He won Best Debut Indie Game as well. 1 title snatched 2 awards. That slot sure is ironic. I won't even mention you. A bunch of Ubisoft veterans, how dare you call this a debut game? Had these 2 awards been split, 2 distinct games could have won them, giving more indie game creators a chance. Then in episode 33, one game scooped both awards, and then it also won GOTY Best Narrative, Best Art Direction, and Best RPG. Best RPG, Best Original Score, Best Performance, Best Game Direction, 9 awards. The game with most wins in a single TGA year. You swept this so-called indie game of yours, swept all the AAA games claim. Either you are a legendary masterpiece or the indie game tag here is just a hollow label. So, what makes a game a true indie game? I've been in indie games for 10 years now. I know all too well what genuine indie development looks like. It's you alone typing code at your screen till 3 in the morning. You don't know if this game, once made, will have anyone to play it yet. You still finish it. He said your account had just thousands left, and you couldn't even pay rent yet. You kept pushing through to finish this project. He said you had no PR, no media ties, and no connections at all. You posted a promo tweet, but only dozens saw it. Sometimes just a few did. You uploaded the game to Steam, and sold just 10s in the first week. Then you saw in the comments someone said, "Oh, this game is okay." Whoa, my dear, you're elated. This is what an indie game is, you know. This is an indie game. Indie games are painful, fragile things, crafted by authors who poured decades of life experiences and wisdom into them as nourishment. Throw in your flaws, your shortcomings, and that most vibrant spark of inspiration into this product in a haphazard way. If I did this, I'd die tomorrow. That's what the indie game should be. I'm not saying I have a billion-dollar publisher, a 300-person outsourced team, and massive media hype, then come say we're an indie game. We also want major awards and... That was Emperor Zhenzong of Song doing Fengshan laughable.
Of course, if you ask if this video poses any threat to the TGA, none at all. I'm just a 180k fan uploaded.
Dear me, 10 years now, not one hit video have I made, not one hit indie game have I crafted. What, am I just a nobody? Would you say, but the indie game scene is built by countless folks, just like us. Yes, folks like us, shitty ones. Holy shit, that line rocks. You'll end this video with it as my closing line.